To a lot of people who aren't here, this is just a big party in the desert. But really, it's a place where you can explore the possibilities of what we would create on this world if we weren't so busy with our 9 to 5.
The place is an idea, and that idea is that people have permission to be whomever they want to be. That's so powerful and so alluring that people will go to the worst place in the world just to get a little taste of it.
Hey everybody, it's Carl and welcome once more to Carl's Driven Life, where I hunt down and interview the most interesting people in Washington, D.C. So I have a repeat rider today. What an honor. Matt and I met, several months ago, I believe. You were a rider in the car going to, and I'm not going to say anything yet because we're going to talk about that in a minute. But you guys can see the photo on my Instagram of what Matt looked like that day. So needless to say, at that time, he was the most interesting rider I had had. So yes, I have the pleasure today of interviewing Mathew Hebert, one of the area's premier event directors for 3 very, very nice event venues in Washington, D.C. And so, Matt, thank you so much for coming on to Carl's Driven Life. Tell me a little bit about you, how you ended up here in D.C. and what you've got going on right now.
Sure. Well, first of all, I just want to say, I think what you're doing, Carl, is fantastic. I feel like I'm on an episode of Cash Cab meets TED Talks.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
That's pretty awesome.
Except I don't have any cash, but
yeah. The rewards the conversation.
Exactly.
So, no, I'm a native Washingtonian, which I guess is pretty unique for this area. I was born here in DC and I've moved away a couple times, but I've always kind of found my way back.
Okay.
And I've been in the Logan Circle area for the last 7 or 8 years as the private events director for a company that owns a number of venues around Washington, D.C.
Okay, nice. What are the venues, out of curiosity?
Sure. So we have 2 premier venues in DuPont Circle. One's called St. Eve and one's called Abigail. And I would say we do 80 to 90% of our private events at those 2 venues, ranging from yesterday we produced a wedding, ceremony and reception, political events, music, fashion, corporate holiday party seasons coming up. So pop-up yoga, you name it, we try and do it.
Nice. So what's the third one?
We have a venue in Arlington, a Japanese barbecue restaurant that we just opened called Gyukaku. So if you're looking for some fantastic Japanese barbecue, check out Gyukaku in the Clarendon area.
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
All right, that's awesome. So I'm going to segue into the initial meeting that we had when you were just a regular old rider.
Sure.
At the time. So Matt got into the car dressed up in God only knows what at the time. But there was makeup, a crazy outfit. And I found out that you were going to an event at one of your spaces that was centered around Burning Man. And so for those of you that don't know, Burning Man is an awesome festival out in the Black Rock Desert, I believe it's called. You're going to know more. So tell us about Burning Man, how many times you've been. Obviously, the event that I took you to that day, which was very interesting, that was happening in DC. So kind of, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I've had the good fortune to attend Burning Man for the last 4 years. It's a festival, if you even want to call it a festival, out in the Black Rock City Desert, just north of Gerlach, Nevada. The closest major city is Reno, Nevada. It's about 3 hours north of that. And it's really the most unique thing I've ever done in my life. It's a spectacle of 70,000 people that all organically build a metropolis to sustain themselves for a week out in the middle of the desert. And that includes things from water infrastructure, power infrastructure, art, music. There's no money out there, so the only thing that's exchanged is giving and gratitude. And so everyone's on a level playing field, and it's a really cool environment to exist in for a week. When you take things like money out of the equation and see how society and people function. And the night that I met you, I had the opportunity to host a Burning Man event right around the time that the Smithsonian Renwick Gallery had opened their Burning Man exhibit. And so I forget what I was wearing that night, but I'm sure it constituted feathers and hats and
gold
makeup,
and glitter,
glitter and the whole nine. And it was a beautiful evening where we had a lot of burners from around the country in town to celebrate the Smithsonian adopting sort of the mantras of Burning Man and then turning that at the Renwick into a really beautiful exhibit.
Nice. That is really cool. Yeah, that was a fun day. I think I even told you that at that time. I said, I've got to get a selfie because you definitely have nailed it for the most interesting rider.
I think I was one of the first riders, and on your Instagram, I'm right up there, number one or number two as one of the first selfies. So maybe in a way, that outfit was the catalyst for Carl's Uber Life.
That's absolutely
video.
right. Yeah, it could very well be, because I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to have interesting people like this, I'm going to
document.
I'm going to document it and share it.
That's right.
So, leading from Burning Man into a pretty interesting thing that happened here locally in DC over the weekend, Catharsis. DC. So tell us a little bit about that and how you got involved in that.
Sure. So Catharsis on the Mall is what we call a regional burn, which is a smaller Burning Man that they do all over the world. And this one here in Washington was this past weekend, and it spanned from Friday evening to Sunday afternoon, culminating with, of course, a burn on Saturday night where they burned the temple in front of the Washington Monument. And that's very symbolic, because the temple at Burning Man or at any regional burn is a place of catharsis. It's a place where people can go and write things on the wall or leave mementos to people that they've lost or feelings that they want to get rid of. And then when the burn happens, it takes all of those feelings, all of those elements, and it gets rid of them. And so there'll be 100 people or 5,000 people or 20,000 people at the large Burning Man standing around this beautiful structure that they're burning to release you of all of these internal feelings that you might have had built up. And so in that way, it is a very cathartic experience and beautiful experience, a forum of expression with a community of people, that is really remarkable.
That is so interesting. And so, guys, I have to tell you, I was telling one of my riders earlier about Matt's interview today, and explaining that they had done a burn on the National Mall. And so from her eyes, I'll just tell you the funny story. She was on a bus, I guess, going from one point to the other. But any of you that are not from here can imagine what it may look like when there is a very large fire and something burning in front of the Washington Monument. So she was a little freaked out, but when she found out that it was actually on purpose. it made her feel a little bit better. But when I was explaining, she said, "I think I saw that. We had no idea what was happening."
Yeah, it is definitely a strange sight to see, even for myself, a native Washingtonian who went to the first Catharsis 4 years ago, to see this Burning Man style of event where there's DJs and there's art and there's temples and there's burning right in front of the Washington Monument. Even for me, it was quite a shock. But
I can imagine the permit for that.
yeah, this group from San Francisco got the permitting, and they've been doing it for the last 4 years. And so I've personally gone down there the last 3 years, and part of the Burning Man experience and the community experience is to support each other. And so
Right.
I've gone down to help build, to help deconstruct the structures at the end, to provide food and water for the people that are coming in from out of town, and just all around to be a support mechanism for the people that are coming to do this amazing event here.
Nice. It's not quite Black Rock City. You can walk and get a hamburger.
Well,
but,
it was
but,
more mushy Rock City, as it had rained all weekend,
Oh.
and the ground was pretty wet and muddy, but it certainly didn't dampen the spirit
Nice.
of people who came from all over the East Coast to be a part of Catharsis this weekend.
What an awesome event. How many times have you been to Burning Man?
I've been to Burning Man 4 times, so this will be my 5th year upcoming. And I like to try and tell people I'll go every year till the day I die, if I can. It's that special, it's that remarkable. There's nothing else quite like it on planet Earth.
Wow.
And it's just a wonderful experience of a culture of entrepreneurs and innovators and lovers and creators, and to be in that environment for a week is really special.
So how did you find out about the first one, and kind of tell me about that initial experience and how you felt?
Sure. So I have a friend here in Washington named Brett, who is originally from Hawaii and is a very well-traveled individual. And we've taken a lot of trips together throughout the years. And Burning Man wasn't even really on my radar, frankly. And I guess it was 5 years ago now. He had a friend from London who runs one of the coolest camps at Burning Man, and asked that year if we were interested in being a part of this experience and what they were building. And we agreed and brought a group of 4 of us out from Washington, rented an RV, drove out into the middle of the desert, not knowing what to expect.
Right.
Blasting Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven, rolling into the middle of the desert. And there is a quote by the founder, the late founder, Larry Harvey, who the first Burning Man at Black Rock City stuck a stake in the ground after they had transferred it from the beach in San Francisco, where it had just gotten too large. And he said something to the effect of, after this point, everything's going to be different. After this point, once you cross this threshold, everything is going to be different. And I didn't really know what that meant
Right.
until after crossing that threshold. And life's never been quite the same in the best possible way since that experience.
That is so interesting. And so so here's, unfortunately, I've never been. It is on my list. I want to do it. And this was years ago that I guess I saw, and I forget now what I saw, but it was something I'm like, wow, that looks really, really neat. And I don't remember if I knew that it turned into not even a barter type of city, but that level of generosity is quite different from our world of entitlement and expectation that we experience. And so what did you walk away with from that first event that really, number one, stuck with you, number two, changed you, and obviously number three, motivated you to go every year?
Sure. So it is a gifting economy. It's a misconception that you even need to barter for things. One example might be out on what they call the playa, or in Spanish, beach, which constitutes the desert. You might find a a camp that is a farmer's market that has fresh produce, and it is a gifting economy. You go and you take what you need and you leave what you can, and that's it. And there's another camp that produces ice, and all they do all day, because it's very hot out in the desert, is make ice. With these kind of old world ice making machines, and if you need ice, you go to their camp, they give you ice, and it's as simple as that. And after being in that space for a week the first year, I remember thinking, wow, there are a lot of people out there, 70,000 specifically, that feel the same way that I do, that really want the best from society and can picture this utopian feeling actually coming to fruition. And then the cool thing about Burning Man is once the week is over and you've been bathed in all of this love and gifting and community and support, you take that back into the default world or the real world, and then you get to try and exemplify that sort of moral compass back here in the default world.
Wow.
And I think the power of Burning Man, and you can see it with Catharsis and the Renwick and a lot of these other regional burns around the world, is that people are really not just the people who get to go to Burning Man, but lots of people now are starting to wake up and see that this is a way that you can live life, and this is a common practice that you can have in your everyday world, in your everyday life, and spread those sort of values to the people around you. And in that way, it's a domino effect. You can really affect change on a macro level if you're treating every single person the same way throughout the course of your life. And that's what keeps me coming back, is to continue to meet individuals that feel that way wherever they may be in the world, and to be able to affect change on a macro level through those principles.
Wow, that's what a wonderful perspective, and that falls into many regions of the world, and it's not, but I can't help but think about religion, politics. So not politics is necessary as much, but I think that there are a lot of religious principles in that kind of do for others as you would have them do unto you, and,
Sure.
and some of that kind of stuff. It's if we just had more, if it was about 2.5 million people that went to Burning Man, it would
Sure.
be neat. So if I recall, when Burning Man hits, it makes that the largest city, like, in the air. There's a statistic there that's interesting.
Yeah, it's the largest organic metropolis that then disappears a week later.
And you guys leave it. You leave it the way you found it.
Pristine. One
Wow.
of the founding principles is a leave no trace policy, which really applies to Burning Man. The desert is pristine, and it needs to be pristine afterwards, and that means everything from large art structures to one piece of glitter. You're responsible for canvassing your area and others' areas and making sure that the desert returns to a full desert afterwards, so that the event can take place next year. And in today's day and age, I think that's hyper applicable to some of the things we're dealing with regards to plastic in the oceans, and just walking down the street, if you see a piece of trash, it's very humanitarian of you to pick it up and to throw it away. If every single person picked up one piece of trash every day,
You wouldn't need the cleaning people.
That's right. And so just to take those principles and try and apply them to your real world perspective and everyday thinking, I think is really what Burning Man was intended for, and the power that it can yield.
Nice. So tell me, I want to go backwards a little bit. So with your event spaces and some of that kind of stuff in DC, I know that you said you did the wedding. If I remember when I looked at St. Eve, it's a very, very nice space.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it looked very impressive. So, tell me about some of the high-end artists or some people like that you've hosted, and kind of how you're connected into the city that you've been in for so long.
Sure. So I definitely have a passion for Washington, and to see how it's changed over the years is truly remarkable. A lot of that is a testament to the local politicians that we've had recently. I think Mariel Bowser, who we've hosted a number of times, has her finger on the pulse of the city and has really done some great things for the community. We've hosted some larger politicians there that I think have great ideas about where the country can go. Kamala Harris and Cory Booker. We've obviously done some very cool music events. We've had DJ Steve Aoki there before, a number of other musicians, and then we do things as small as pop-up yoga, and that's fantastic as well. We're not above hosting any event.
Sure.
We try and accommodate everyone, and I guess it's my job to take someone's vision or what they think can be possible in the venue, and try and manifest that for them. And it keeps my life very interesting and diverse, just like yours.
Yep.
You get to meet a lot of different people, and in the same way that travel makes your perspective broader, so does the event planning business, where you really get to
A canvas,
right? Engage with a lot of people and a lot of different ideas.
Nice. So for those of you that don't follow Matt's Instagram, I can tell you it's a very interesting fellow. So tell me about your travel. You have been all over the place.
I sure have. So I was very lucky to grow up in a family that loved to travel and explore, and so it's a testament to my parents, with what resources they had at the time, making sure that we were well versed in the world, and
right.
And wanting to not just stay in one place, but gain that perspective on other cultures and other people and language and religion and food and all that good stuff. And so I've, in my adult life, I've sort of continued that mantra and taken it upon myself to every opportunity I get to explore this beautiful planet. And next weekend I'll be in London for a few various reasons, and seeing some friends from Burning Man, which is also very cool because Burning Man is such an international event. A lot of places I go in the world, there is a community there ready to receive me. Just from having attended that event. But
that's a network, right?
Yeah, it's a wonderful network, but even better than a network is the beautiful network that it is, the beautiful breadth of humanity that I'm able to engage with. But yeah, travel gains you so much life perspective, and then when you come home, you can have a better understanding of your own environment. And this year alone, I've done safari in Kenya, Cape Town, South Africa, been out to California a number of times, and of course we're thinking about California now with the wildfires.
Right.
Had the opportunity to hike in Ecuador, going to London this weekend, and just trying to live while I can.
So on your globe, how many little pins are there for the places that you've been?
I think off the top of my head, I've been to something in the neighborhood of 58 countries, 58 to 65 countries, somewhere in that neighborhood. I'd have to sit down and actually put the pins in the globe, but
that is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool, and hopefully, that'll continue to be a part of the fabric of my life for the foreseeable future.
Absolutely. That is just so awesome that your parents were able to instill that in you and had the means by which to do it. You don't have to be rich to travel the world. I think that is definitely a misconception that a lot of people have.
Most certainly not. I'm not a millionaire, so I do it in a way that is economically sound, but also taking advantage of my time and space. And I thank my parents for that gift as often as I can.
That is awesome, Matt. So let's jump into the kind of the theme of a lot of my conversations in Carl's Driven Life that we've had so far, which is the theme of entrepreneurship. And so you told me that you have got a new company going on that you have founded. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I co-founded a CBD oil company, and for those of you who don't know what CBD oil is, it's hemp-based derived oil that has been scientifically proven to be incredible for mental health, specifically for anxiety, stress, depression, PTSD, epilepsy. It's a very powerful natural tool. And we launched our company called the Neighborhood Pharmacy a couple months ago. You can go on to theneighborhoodpharmacy.com and find our list of products. And I guess after having gone to Burning Man and seeing this more holistic approach to life in general, we wanted to start something that was a more holistic approach to mental health, giving people the opportunity to get away from over-the-counter medication and big pharma and get into a more natural approach to stress and anxiety and sleep deprivation and those types of things.
Wow.
And so I think the culture of learning and understanding what these natural medicines can do is expanding, and we want to be a part of the fabric of that education.
Okay, very interesting. I did not, that's something new to me. I didn't realize that that kind of thing existed. But definitely, I mean, yeah, if you can go natural, even in our food, it's kind of insane. When you start seeing 4-syllable words. Dealing with an apple, you probably have got a problem.
Yeah,
there, right?
You see a lot of these people that are going organic, and I think a lot of people make fun of those individuals for being this kind of hippie person. But what that really means is you're buying food and you're engaging in product that the farmer knows that there was no pesticides used, and that's all that means. And from a body standpoint, it's huge, because over the course of a lifetime, if you're eating preservatives and ingesting pesticides, it's definitely not good for what's going on the inside. And so whether you're buying organic or whether you're using something like CBD oil to combat mental health, it's all beneficial. It's all better than, as you mentioned, taking something that has a 4-syllable word behind it that you're going, why is this in my apple?
Wow, how about that? That's really cool. So tell us obviously with the Neighborhood Pharmacy, that's on your horizon, but tell us what you've got coming up over the next year or so. What is fun and exciting in your life, and at the to move past that, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Sure. Well, I think specifically with this entrepreneurial endeavor, our goal over the next year is to really grow that and to focus on that and to try and get that into spaces like boutique hotels or pairing with mattress companies as a sleep aid, or getting it into veteran organizations for PTSD, to help out with veterans that have suffered from that coming back from overseas. So at least in the course of the next year or so, we'll be really focused on growing the brand and creating a forum of education for the population about how this is a better approach, or at least an alternative approach to mental health versus what you would normally find and buy over the counter. And then hopefully that'll expand not just here locally in Washington, but we'll be able to expand throughout the United States and then make that common practice throughout the world.
Okay. So define success. What does success look like for you in 5 years?
Success is never for me defined as a dollar amount.
Exactly.
Money comes and money goes. I think success for me is always going to be defined as an education. If we are able to put out a product and then subsequently stand behind it with what we believe, and then put out a forum of education for people to understand that there's this thing out there that might be better for you, and here's why. And if we can really spread those tentacles in the way that Burning Man is doing, just continuing to create that form of education for the general populace to live a better life, then we've been successful.
Nice. That's I think that's pretty good, Matt. Helping others is a big part of my foundation, and obviously a very big part of why I'm driving around town all day long.
Sure.
To have those conversations with people and to just like you said, affect positive change in people's lives somehow. So I'm really glad that we share that vision.
Well, we need more drivers like you, Mike. We need more people like you in general.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it, man. Well, guys, that's going to conclude my interview with Matt. Matt, if they want to follow up with you, social media wise, website wise, how do they find you?
Sure. So theneighborhoodpharmacy.com is our CBD oil company. Saint Eve, YVES, all one word, DC.com is
and it's
our
Saint
events.
spelled out, right?
Saint spelled out,
okay.
All one word. That's our event space. And my Instagram is at Mathew Luke, MathewLuc.
Yep, and you got me with that one T.
Yes,
yeah,
I know.
Is there?
I don't know what my parents were thinking.
Is there a Mathew Luke with two T's out there somewhere?
No, I don't believe there is. I'm one of one.
There you go. That's good.
But we're all one of one.
That's right.
It's
That's
fantastic.
awesome. Well, guys, thanks again for riding along with us today. My Instagram, Twitter, and you can find me on YouTube at Carl's Driven Life. And if you're ever in the area, you know of a wonderful event space to go to and hang out, as well as following up with Matt on the neighborhood pharmacy and checking that out. So guys, stay tuned. It's going to be a fun ride as I hunt down and interview the most interesting people in Washington, D.C.
And he means it. Tune in. Tune in.
Thanks so much, Matt.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.